Hello, Mzansi. Welcome back to another episode in our Meet the Farmer Mentor series here on Farmers Inside Track. My name is Duncan Masiwa, and I'm your host for this episode. Now, in this episode, we meet DJ Meades, a Petrusburg farmer who believes that training his employees also makes him stronger. Now, with 12 years of farming experience, he manages 2 enterprises, grows vegetables, and proudly runs a pecan tree nursery he established himself. DJ Meades shares how he has adapted management practices to increase profitability, expand irrigation, and modified equipment to improve efficiency and time management.
David, dit is lekker met jou te gesels. Dis David Johannes Meades, maar sommige mense ken jou as DJ Meades. So, as jy nou a DJ, are you a farmer? What exactly are you?
I am a farmer. I try to be a good one. Normally I don't look at that. What I am is just how I do things is more important to me, sir.
Definitely. Tell us a bit about your farming journey for someone that they might not know who you are. Where exactly does your farming journey start?
I grew up on a farm. It's been a long ride for me. So I grew up on a farm and got used to farming from just a little boy. So my father started teaching me all the things I know today. But my real journey in farming started after school when I tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And so I started to plant small, and from there everything just took off.
You have quite a diversified farming portfolio. So you farm with onions, cabbages, pecan nuts, maize, sunflower, as well as butternut. That's quite a lot to manage. What inspired this diversification strategy that you have in place?
It's quite difficult to do so many crops at once. Every time I take a new one in, it's quite a challenge. But it's actually, when you get used to how to do it, it's quite easy. But what led me to diversify is to make the whole setup more profitable. If one fails, or all of them can't fail at once. So if you plant so many diversified crops, you have a better chance at getting a profit. So you don't want to make mistakes in farming because of all the input costs that's so high. So if you plant everything one crop and it's a failure, you got a failure. But if you got 3 or 4, maybe 3 of them fail, you still got one that's got to pull you through. So it's mostly about surviving and making a profit.
Yeah. I suppose that's part of diversifying your risks. At the end of the day, if one crop fails or you have a bad season, there's other commodities that you can depend on.
Yes, that's basically is what I try to do. It's very important to try and keep afloat.
Jy praat natuurlijk Afrikaans ook. Jy boer in Petrusburg, dis in die Vrystaat. En iets wat gesê het vir my nogals uitgestaan. Jy sê, my doel is om winsgewend en doeltreffend as moontlik te boer en om op 'n kleiner gedeelte die meeste te maak. Nou in Engels, dit is to farm profitably, that's your goal, and efficiently as possible to get the most out of a small piece of land. Why is that so important to you?
Dit is baie belangrik vir my, want baie mense het al vir my gesê, moet uitbrei, maar hoe meer 'n mens probeer groter gaan, hoe meer uitdagings het daar vir my ook gekom. So ek het gevoel, ek probeer eers die beste uithaal uit dit wat ek het op die stadium, so die kleiner stukkies moet so winsgewend as moontlik wees, voordat ek enigstens sal dink daaraan om nog verder uit te brei, want as jy so op jou plaas beweeg, dan kom jy agter in areas waar jy nou nog, jy weet, bietjie wins uit die plaas uit kan kry. Nie om iets te oordoen nie, maar ek bedoel, daar's baie geleentheid op 'n klein stukkie. Mense moet nie altyd kyk na grootte van 'n plaas of hoe groot jy boer nie, maar wel hoe winsgewend jy dit kan maak op 'n kleiner stukkie, en dis baie belangrik.
Yeah. So practically speaking, how does that look like on your farm? What are some of the changes that you've implemented on the farm where you actually implement this philosophy of yours?
If I have to say, I went and looked how much water I have available to farm. Then I started to see, here I have some more available ground that I can use, and trying to plant that as well. If you look at the whole setup on your farm, everything is supposed to work together. So if there's anything available on your farm, try to use it. If you see a piece of ground that's less fertile, you go and look at a crop that's going to do better on that type of soil, where other farmers might just say, no, that's a poor piece of ground, we can't see it. But then I look at crops that they can use on that piece of ground, and then you use that, then you still get some profit out of it.
Jy het dekgewasse, nee? Vat ons gou deur daai proses, hoe werk dit presies?
Ja, ek probeer om lande wat oor lê nie net te laat lê nie. Ons plant dekgewasse. Dit is maar meestal iets wat jy nie eintlik kan oes nie, maar dit dra by tot die gesondheid van jou grond. So as jy die volgende oes wil plant, dan is die grond nou weer opgebou en gesond, want daar is baie dekgewasse wat ons kan plant, wat die grond opbou en wat jy weer kan in die grond inwerk om die gesondheid en die vrugbaarheid van die grond te bevorder. So dis nogal iets wat baie belangrik is, want grond wat net oop en braak lê, is geneig om bietjie minder vrugbaar te raak. So mens probeer die grond in die lewe hou.
You know, I often wonder what is the success metrics that farmers look at to say, omdat ek A en B doen, klassifiseer ek myself as successful. What does that look like on your farm? What are the success metrics that you look at? I suppose both from a farm management perspective, but also from a financial health perspective.
The metrics I look at, quite a difficult one actually, because my farm is very diverse. So if you look at profitability, it's not actually a good thing just to look at one single thing on the farm. If you look at the whole picture, it's better to see what your whole setup is like after 2 or 3 years. I would go look at, is my farming profitable at the moment? Because one thing won't work for maybe 1 year and another year, but the third year it's very profitable. So I always tell people, just don't give up. I rarely look at the books as much as I'm supposed to, but if it doesn't work, don't give up, just try again. But sometimes the books won't look that good, but maybe after 3 years, your average will look very good. But there isn't really a metric that I can say this is the main thing you have to look at. There's so many things you can measure your own success at. So
I can't imagine that farming on such a diverse scale, that budgeting and financial planning is easy. What does that look like on your farm? Budgeting for all these different commodities. How do you decide which one gets more investment this season and the next season?
So after quite a few years of farming, my planning is every year I have like a table I use for every crop. So every year I just update that. But when I did the planning in the first years, I started to figure out something that will work for me. So I put my planning is every year I just upgrade basically what I saw last year didn't work. So I put the new costs and I upgrade the cost and everything I add to that. So it's quite a difficult thing to do in advance, but every field and every piece of land that is planted is pre-planned. And I always plan the next crop after the one already planted. So I know what's coming after this one. And if you don't do that, you can't do proper planning actually, because you can't wait for the next season to decide what you're going to plant. There's stuff you need to look at. So you have to see the chemicals you can spray, some stuff you can't use for the next crop. And to get optimal profitability off of the soil, you have to plan in advance of all your crops. So that's quite actually a big topic that I can talk to you about. But I put my seed on, my chemicals, my fertilizer, everything is already planned in advance. So
it's very interesting. You know, you have your up seasons and then you have your down seasons. What are some of the biggest mistakes, would you say, that you have made in your farming journey that might have costed you thousands, maybe even millions?
If you do poor planning, yes, you just do something without doing proper planning. It's quite expensive sometimes, and you can make big mistakes just through doing things without thinking. Sometimes you have to do things very quickly and make big decisions quickly, and that can bring you some big losses.
Was daar al 'n oomblik in jou reis waar jy 'n fout begaan het en dit uiteindelik 'n groot impak gehad op die besigheid?
Ja, nee, daar was al verseker sulke gevalle gewees. Daar sal maar altyd wees, want 'n mens doen partykeer goed wat jy nie mooi deurdink nie en dan maak jy maar groot foute, so dit gebeur.
Ja. Hoe lyk die volgende 5 jaar vir jou plaas? Wat is die dinge wat julle na kyk om te implementeer en dalk te verbeter?
Ons probeer maar aanpas. Dis hoe ek vir almal sê, ons moet heeltyd aanpasbaar wees en boerdery bly verander elke jaar. Die een jaar is dieselfde as die ander nie. So ons probeer maar ook maar ons winsgewendheid optel en ons gewasse wat ons gebruik om plant te verander en aan te pas sodat ons kan meer winsgewend boer. Dit help nie om so hard te werk en nie vooruitgang te sien nie. So ons wil nie noodwendig, wil ons nie vreeslik uitbrei nie, maar ons wil dit wat ons het beter toepas.
Vir daai boer wat nou luister na ons gesprek en hulle wil graag begin boer op die skaal wat jy boer, wat is jou groot advies vir hom of haar?
Ek gaan net sê, moenie opgee nie. Probeer maar net weer en luister na raad van almal om jou. Daar is altyd ander boere wat jy dink dalk jy weet alles, maar hulle weet definitief iets wat jy nie weet nie. So probeer altyd aan al die opsies dink wat daar beskikbaar is en begryp al die geleenthede aan wat jy kan, maar moet net nie opgee nie.
There you have it, DJ Meades, a farmer based in Petrusburg in Free State. You can of course read more on this topic by visiting www.foodformzansi.co.za. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss any of the episodes. From me, Duncan Masiwa, our technical producer Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food from Zanzi, thanks for listening.